Assalamu alaikum students, this is your teacher Muhammad Umar Khatak for the subject Organizational Theory and Behavior. And this is our 30th lecture, and today we'll be starting chapter 12. And the discussion today would be about leadership traits and contingency theories. Leadership. We define leadership as the ability to influence a group towards achievement of a vision or set of goals. But not all leaders are managers, nor are all managers leaders. Just because an organization provides its managers with certain formal rights is no assurance they will lead effectively. Leaders can emerge from within a group as well as by formal appointment. Non sanctioned leadership, the ability to influence that arises outside the formal structure of the organization, is often as important or more important than formal influence. Organizations need strong leadership and strong management for optimal effectiveness. We need leaders to challenge the status quo, create visions of the future, and inspire organizational members to achieve the visions. We need managers to formulate detailed plans, create efficient organizational structures, and oversee day to day operations. Traits theory. Throughout history, strong leaders have been described by their traits. Therefore, leadership research has long sought to identify the personality, social, physical, or intellectual attributes that differentiate leaders from non leaders. Trait theories of leadership focus on personal qualities and characteristics. Leadership emergence and effectiveness are often evaluated separately vis a vis trait studies. For personality, a comprehensive review of the leadership literature organized around the Big Five framework has found extraversion to be the most predictive trait of effective leadership. Extraversion sometimes relates more to the way leaders emerge than to their effectiveness. Sociable and dominant people are more likely to assert themselves in group situations, which can help extroverts be identified as leaders. But effective leaders are not domineering. One study found leaders who scored very high in assertiveness, a facet of extroversion, very less effective than those who were moderately high. So, although extroversion can predict effective leadership, the relationship may be due to unique facets of the trait. Unlike agreeableness and emotional stability, which seem not to predict leadership, conscientiousness and openness to experience may predict leadership, especially leader effectiveness. For example, one recent study indicated that the top management teams that were in conscientiousness positively influenced in organizational performance through their leadership. Conscientiousness and extraversion are positively related to leaders' self efficacy, and people are more likely to follow someone who is confident he or she is going in the right direction, allowing these leaders to emerge. In sum, leaders who like being around people and are able to assert themselves, extroverted, are disciplined and able to keep commitments they make, conscientious, are creative and flexible, open, have an apparent advantage when it comes to leadership. What about the dark side personality traits of Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy? Research indicates they are not all bad for leadership. A study in Europe and in the United States found that normative scores on the dark side personality traits were optimal, while low scores were associated with ineffective leadership. Furthermore, the study suggested that high emotional stability may actually accentuate the ineffective behaviors. However, higher scores on the dark side traits and emotional stability can contribute to leader emergence. Thankfully, both this study and the other international research indicate that building self awareness and self regulation skills may be helpful for leaders to control the effects of their dark side traits. Another trait that may indicate effective leadership is emotional intelligence. A core component of emotional intelligence is empathy. Empathetic leaders can sense others' needs, listen to what followers say and don't say, and read the reaction of others. A leader who effectively displays and manages emotion will find it easier to influence the feelings of followers by expressing genuine sympathy and enthusiasm for good performance, and by showing irritation when employees fail to perform. The link between emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness may be worth investigating in greater detail. Research has also demonstrated that people high in emotional intelligence are more likely to emerge as leaders, even after taking cognitive ability and personality into account. Based on the latest findings, we offer two conclusions. First, we can say that traits can predict leadership. Second, traits do a better job predicting the emergence of leaders and the appearance of leadership than distinguishing between effective and ineffective leaders. The fact that an individual exhibits the right traits and others consider that person a leader does not necessarily mean he or she will be an effective one, successful at getting the group to achieve its goals. Trait theories help us predict leadership, but they don't fully help us explain leadership. What do successful leaders do that makes them effective? Are different types of leaders' behavior equally effective? Behavioral theories help us define the parameters of leadership. Behavioral theories of leadership. Trait research provides a basis for selecting the right people for leadership. Behavioral theories of leadership, in contrast, imply we can train people to be leaders. Initiating structures is the extent to which a leader is likely to define and structure his or her role and those of employees in the search for goal attainment. It includes behavior that attempt to organize work, work relationships, and goals. A leader high in initiating structure is someone who assigns followers particular tasks, sets definitive standards of performance, and emphasizes deadlines. Consideration is the extent to which a person's job relationships are characterized by mutual trust, respect for employees, ideas, and regard to their feelings. A leader high in consideration helps employees with personal problems, is friendly and approachable, treat all employees as equals, and expresses appreciation and support. The result of behavioral studies have been mixed. However, one review found that the followers of leaders high in consideration were more satisfied with their jobs, were more motivated, and had more respect for their leaders. Initiating structure was more strongly related to higher levels of group and organization productivity and more positive performance evaluation. The reason for the mixed results from the behavioral theory tests may lie partly in the followers' preferences, particularly cultural preferences. Research from the GLOBE program, a study of 18,000 leaders from 825 organizations in 62 countries, suggested there are international differences in the preference for initiating structure and consideration. The study found that leaders high in consideration succeed best in countries where cultural values did not favor unilateral decision making, such as Brazil. As one of the Brazilian managers noted, we do not prefer leaders who take self governing decisions and act alone without engaging the group. That's part of who we are. A US manager leading a team in Brazil would therefore need to be high in consideration, team oriented, participative, and humane to be effective. In contrast, the French have a more bureaucratic view of leaders and are less likely to expect them to be humane and considerate. A leader high in initiating structure will do best there and can make decisions in relatively autocratic manner. A manager who scores high in consideration may find her style backfires in France. In other cultures, both dimensions may be therefore be important. Chinese culture emphasizes being polite, considerate, and unselfish, but it has a high performance orientation. Thus, consideration and initiation structure may both be important for a manager to be effective in China. Contingency theories. Some tough minded leaders seem to gain a lot of admirers when they take over struggling companies and lead them out of crisis. However, predicting leadership success is more complex than finding a few hero examples. Also, the leadership style that works in very bad times doesn't necessarily translate into long term success. The Fiedler model. Fred Fiedler developed the first comprehensive contingency model for leadership. The Fiedler contingency model proposes that group performance depends on the proper match between their leader's style and the degree to which the situation gives the leader control. With the model, the individual's leadership style is assumed to be permanent. The least preferred coworker (LPC) questionnaire identifies whether a person is task oriented or relationship oriented by asking respondents to think of all the coworkers they have ever had and describe the one they least enjoyed with working with. If you describe this person in favorable terms, a high LPC score, you are relationship oriented. If you see your least preferred coworker in unfavorable terms, a low LPC score, you are primarily interested in productivity and are task oriented. After finding a score, a fit must be found between the organizational situation and the leader's style for there to be leadership effectiveness. We can assess the situation in terms of three contingency or situational dimensions. Number one, leader member relations is the degree of confidence, trust, and respect members have in their leaders. Number two, task structure is the degree to which the job assignments are procedurized, that is, structured or unstructured. Number three, position power is the degree of influence a leader has over power variables such as hiring, firing, discipline, promotions, and salary increases. According to the model, the higher the task structure becomes, the more procedures are added, and the stronger the position power, the more control the leader has. A very favorable situation might include a payroll manager who has the respect and confidence of his or her employees, activities that are clear and specific, such as wage computation, check writing, and report filing, and considerable freedom to reward and punish employees. Situational leadership theory. Situational leadership theory, SLT, focuses on the followers. It says successful leadership depends on selecting the right leadership style contingent on the followers' readiness, the extent to which followers are willing and able to accomplish a specific task. A leader should choose one of the four behaviors depending on followers' readiness. If followers are unable and willing to do a task, the leader needs to give clear and specific directions. If they are unable but willing, The leader needs to display a high task orientation to compensate for the followers' lack of ability and high relationship orientation to get them to buy into the leader's desire. If followers are able but unwilling, the leader needs to use a supportive and participative style. If they are both able and willing, the leader doesn't need to do much. Path Goal Theory. Developed by Robert House, path goal theory extracts elements from the research on initiating structure and consideration, and on the expectancy theory of motivation. Path goal theory suggests it's the leader's job to provide followers with information, support, or other resources necessary to achieve goals. The term path goal implies effective leaders clarify followers' paths to their work goals and make the journey easier by reducing roadblocks. The theory predicts directive leadership yields greater employee satisfaction when tasks are ambiguous or stressful than when they are highly structured and well laid out. Supportive leadership results in high employee performance and satisfaction when employees are performing structured tasks. Directive leadership is likely to be perceived as redundant among the employees with high ability or considerable experience. Leader participation model. The final contingency theory we cover argues that the way the leader makes decision is as important as what he or she decides. The leader participation model relates leadership behavior to subordinate participation in decision making. Like path goal theory, it says leader behavior must adjust to reflect the task structure, such as routine, non routine, or in between. But it does not cover all leadership behaviors and is limited to recommending what types of decisions might be best made with subordinate participation. It lays the groundwork for the situations and leadership behaviors most likely to elicit acceptance from subordinates. This is the end of the lecture. Thank you.